G'day tubers, today we're going to be flushing the brake fluid on this CBR500R. It's anti-lock brake one, but it's the same. It's going to be the same on a lot of bikes, especially the X and the F version of this bike as well. It says it recommends to flush this brake fluid every 2 years. So we're going to do the front first, and then we're going to move on to the back. You're going to need some .4 brake fluid. It doesn't have to be Honda, but you just definitely need .4. You're also going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, an 8mm wrench. I'm going to use a syringe to suck the old fluid out of the master cylinder, and also any bottle to dispose of the brake fluid, because you're going to flush it out through the bottom. You're going to bleed it through the bottom as well. So first we're going to start by making this as level as possible. You might need to turn the wheel a bit. Then you're also going to lay down a rag, because brake fluid will rip up paint or discolor plastic. It does it very fast, and you can't just wipe it off. You'll make a bigger mess. So lay down a rag underneath it, something that's absorbent, microfiber for me. You're going to take off these 2 screws. You can leave them in the cap. Take off the cap, then you're going to have a plastic piece and a rubber piece underneath that. Stick your fingernail underneath and try and get both at the same time. Check that for any leaks. If it's really old, you might have to replace that rubber piece. You can get them at any Honda dealer. Then I take my drain bottle and take the cap off of it. And just take my syringe and start sucking it out. It is important to note that when this is empty, you're not going to want to touch the brake lever, because you're going to get air in the system, and you do not want air in the system. Once you've got all the brake fluid out, if you've got any sludge or anything in there, I'd recommend cleaning it out with a rag, a shop rag. Once you got it all out, take your new brake fluid and make sure it's new. If you've got an old bottle that's been laying around for 2 years, guess what? You've got the same brake fluid that you've got in your bike, because it always attracts water, and if the seal's not there, seal's broken, it's going to get water in it. It's like an aluminum piece or aluminium piece and a plastic piece. Filled up to the upper level. And now you're going to go down to the bottom to the caliper. You're going to remove the rubber cap on the caliper. You're going to put your 8mm wrench on that, like that. Then you're going to take your hose and put your hose over the top of it. Put the other end in the bottle. And so as you're holding the brake lever in, you're going to release this, and the brake lever is going to go all the way in, and you're going to tighten it back up again before you let your brake lever out. And then you're going to pump it some more. You're going to go right back down and pump it again, and you can see the liquid coming out. You're going to want to tighten that up, let it go, pump it again. And the whole time you're doing this, the level in the master cylinder is getting lower too. So don't let it get so low that it gets air in the system. Keep on adding as you're going. But we're probably only going to use one more time. And within maybe 3 or 4 strokes, the fluid that's coming out of this is almost as clean as the fluid in top. So don't go ahead and waste a bunch of brake fluid. It's better just to, when that fluid gets clean, stop, and we'll come back up to the top. So as you can see, the fluid's dropped down again. We're going to fill that up again. That's enough. You're going to put your rubber cap back on. And you're going to put your steel cap back on. On top of it, it's got warning. Make sure the warning is written towards what the rider can see, not the other way. You can put these on backwards. These screws don't need to be tightened down very tight because they'll strip out easily, and if they strip out, you're going to need a new caliper, or a new master cylinder, not caliper. Right there is good. The level's good. When you move your handlebars back, it's still above. And then test it. Give it some squeeze. It's all good. So now we're going to move on to the back ones. You can take this off again. Put it all back in there. Take your wrench off. Put your boot back on. And now spray that all off with brake cleaner. You do not want that brake cleaner or that brake fluid on this caliper too. It'll rip the paint right off that as well. Okay, onto the back. This one, the master cylinder reservoir is up here. I'm just going to remove that 8mm bolt and take it off. Tip it upside down, get all the old brake fluid out. And then the same with this, it's got a little rubber cap on it. Just take the rubber cap off like this. You're going to put your 8mm on there, and then the hose on top. So after you got it removed, just take your screwdriver, undo the cap, exactly the same you did with the front. Remember, these screws screw into a plastic reservoir too, so there's just no torque on them, just enough to seal it. Otherwise, you're just going to rip the the bolt up. These ones are longer; they go all the way to the bottom. I tip it all out like that. Try not to get the reservoir lower than the master cylinder. That's one way to get air in it. Then I'll get the brake fluid and just fill it up to the top. Where it's at the upper level. Put the bolt in loosely. And then move back to the back with your wrench and your hose. And then the same thing. You're gonna pump the brake up, and then you're gonna keep this hose on, and then you're gonna loosen that up. Tighten it back up before you let the brake pedal back up, and then pump the brake up again. And you're going to loosen this up and push the fluid through. When you're done, make sure that's tight, put the cap back on, and then you're going to spray it with your contact cleaner, your brake cleaner, and get all the residual off. I'm going to take this off again. I'm going to fill it up to the upper level. And I'm going to put my cap back on. And tighten it up. Wipe it off as good as you can. Put it back in its hole, line it up. And this is an 8mm headed bolt. All this bolt needs is about 6 foot-pounds of torque. There you go. All done. Take your contact cleaner and spray off the areas where the brake fluid could have leaked. Time to take it for a test drive and check those brakes.